Well, we know that COVID-19 is a mild disease in most children, but right now, 3 young children, including an infant, are being treated in intensive care units in Sydney hospitals. All up, there are more than 2,000 children with COVID currently being treated in New South Wales in hospitals and at home. Dr Joanne Ging is a paediatrician and the Executive Director of Clinical Operations at Sydney Children's Hospitals Network. Joanne Ging, welcome to breakfast.
Good morning.
Joanne, we keep saying that COVID's a mild disease in children, but there are 3 children in ICU, so COVID is not mild for all children. Is that just the reality?
So we know, having managed over 3,000 children here at the Sydney Children's Hospitals Network, that the majority of children have a mild illness with COVID-19. However, we do know that all children with all childhood viruses, some children do get sicker than others.
And how sick are the 3 that are in ICU?
So at the moment, we are not going to talk about specifics due to respecting the privacy of the families. But we do know that the majority of the children that we're managing at home, in their homes with our Virtual Kids program.
Okay, so the 3,000 that have had it, it's a mild illness. What does a mild case of COVID look like in a child?
So we know that most of the children are either have no symptoms whatsoever or they have just a mild illness for a few days. And that usually consists of a fever, a cough, a little bit of a runny nose. Sometimes they get some vomiting and diarrhoea and sometimes a bit of loss of taste or smell.
And no after impact that's measurable?
So at this stage, we are following up all of the children. We are monitoring them for up to 6 months after they've had COVID, and we're making sure that we stay in touch with those families and manage any ongoing issues. But the majority of children, this is only lasts for a few days, and they're often better by the end of the time that we're looking after them in the 2-week period that they are with us on our Virtual Kids program.
Okay, Doctor, the Sydney Children's Hospitals Network has a program called Home in Hospital to look after the children, by and large, of parents who are too sick with COVID to be with their kids. How does that work, and how old are the children being looked after by hospital staff in this program?
So we have children from all ages, from 0 up to 18, who have been cared for in this program. And what we do is we bring the family groups with their brothers and sisters into our hospitals only when their families are too unwell and often hospitalised and unable to look after them. Often they also have other family members, their grandparents, who are not vaccinated and therefore can't look after the children who are very frequently COVID positive. When they're in hospital with us, we try and make it as much like home and as fun as possible. So we ensure that we have a large team that look after the children. We have doctors and nurses who look after them medically, but we also have allied health specialists, particularly our child life therapists and our music therapists, our mental health specialists, and our occupational therapists and physiotherapists who are helping them whilst they're in hospital to make it as enjoyable for them as possible. As well as that, we are really fortunate we have 2 hospital schools, and our hospital school teachers are liaising with the children's home schools, and actually therefore they're able to do the work that they would be doing if they were being homeschooled, so that when they leave they are also up to date with their schooling.
So how many kids are in this program at the moment? Do you know?
So we have a couple of wards where we have children on both our hospitals, so that and it does change frequently because as soon as the parents are well enough, we reunite the children as soon as we possibly can. We have been given a great privilege to be able to manage these children and help these families, and we want to get them back to their homes as soon as possible.
Okay, and some of the kids are COVID positive, but not all of them, is that right?
Yes, but they're all COVID contacts because, of course, they've been with their parents. So that we are managing them all and monitoring them for any symptoms or any issues that they may have related to COVID, and also managing any other issues that they might have at the time.
It must be demanding, certainly for the staff, but also frightening for some of the children. I mean, nurses in full protective gear looking after babies and toddlers. You know, very difficult to cuddle a small child in full PPE, I would imagine. Is this how frightening is it for the children? How are they managing it? How are they responding to it?
I have to say children are so resilient, and they're, as said, often with their brothers and sisters, and they're managing very well, and our staff are providing all of the care that they need. And also it's really important that we keep them connected with their families. So all of the children have access to an electronic device from us to ensure that they can either FaceTime or Zoom or connect with their families, both their parents who may be in hospital or their extended family and grandparents at home.
And again, just to make sure who we're talking about here, these are from infants up to age 12 or 15 or?
No, so we have had up to 18 years of age, and we also have had some children who have some disabilities as well. So we can sort of assist them.
So you've got a couple of wards of children in this program at the moment. Do you expect more hospitals to have a child ward of this type if the outbreak continues to widen, which we are led to expect it will?
Because this is an illness of young adults, and young adults often have children, there are likely to be more children with this. We have good capacity, and we're making plans that we can partner with all of our paediatric teams around New South Wales to ensure that we can provide support and keep the children close to home as possible, ensuring that they are near their parents when their parents are well enough to reunite with them.
Okay, close to home as possible. Will it be within the hospital system? Are you planning to expand this to outside of the hospital system?
Look, we at this point in time, we have plenty of capacity within the network for children in Sydney, but we are always looking ahead to make sure that we have surge plans available, and we will be, as I said, partnering with all of our other paediatric teams to make sure we have enough capacity for any child that needs to have this in New South Wales.
There's a lot of talk of capacity in our hospital system at the moment. Can the hospital system cope with increasing numbers of children getting sick with COVID? I think we're up to 2,000 right now, aren't we?
Yeah, so we do have 2,000 children who are currently in our Virtual Kids program, which is we're managing those children in the home, that's managed by our nurses and our doctors, but also our allied health staff, again, who provide social work support for the families. And what we do is they get video or teleconferenced as often as is required. And if they get sicker, we actually send a flying squad out with a nurse and doctor to assess them in their homes to see if they need any further treatment. So that we can have enough capacity with that, because we are making sure that we're tailoring all of our care to ensure that we can manage all of the sick children. So not just children with COVID-19. It's really important that if children are sick and their parents are worried about them, that they do present no matter what they might have, because we need to make sure that we look after all of the children who are sick.
The children under 12 aren't yet eligible for a vaccine yet, but Moderna and Pfizer are provisionally approved for children aged 12 to 15. Is vaccinating children the best response to try and keep them out of ICU units? And would you welcome a vaccination for under 12s from your experience there in the hospitals?
So the most important message at the moment is that to protect our children, we should have all of the adults in their lives vaccinated, particularly their parents, their grandparents, their aunts and uncles, and that's going to give the best protection for all of the children that we care for. We're also working on vaccinating our children who have more chronic and complex conditions, and our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children who are between 12 and 16 years of age. Would
you recommend vaccination for 12 to 15-year-olds?
So our target advice is that it is available for 12 to 16-year-olds. At this point in time in New South Wales, we are just prioritising the children with pre-existing conditions and with and our Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander children and children who live in rural and remote areas.
All right, Joanne Ging, thank you very much for joining us. It sounds like this program is very resource intensive, but hopefully working very well to keep those kids, safe and feeling secure, given if their parents are both in hospital with COVID. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Dr Joanne Ging is a paediatrician, Director of Clinical Operations at Sydney Children's Hospitals Network, and that rollout of vaccines for children 12 and above, 12 to 15, begins in New South Wales on September the 13th.